Poke.
What's up?
Not a lot, you.
Spent a good portion of the evening harvesting what potatoes I got. It was a wide range of success.
Our mission is to capture and hold the marked objective. Let's do it.
Cool.
I don't know how I hit that guy. My heavy tank teammate didn't move up and shoot once with me. I should have just pulled back over the hill. Sorry, I was reading something.
GG.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base.
Excuse me. Playing this tank is incredibly boring. That is the one main downside. Like, everything else about this tank is forgivable. How slow it is on soft terrain is just unbearable.
Focus on this location.
Oh!
Reloading.
Damn.
That's insane. Oh. Oh, you're dead.
Ready to fire on target. Focus on this area.
I'm going as fast as this piece of hunk of crap a junker can go. so high. I knew he was over there. Squashed. Well, at least I got that really impressive shot. And it's easily one of the best shots I've ever made in this game. Goldfish without glutens. Goldfish, hold those glutens, please. Oh, I should hold those glutens. Glutemus.
Hello, Commander.
Affirmative. How's it going, man? Did you buy any new cars?
Ready to fire on target. Like that one went right through. Ready to fire on target. And destroy Big Target locked. She's loaded.
What the fence? Get out of here.
Ready to fire on target.
Get sniped. You ever get sniped? He's gonna get sniped if he doesn't move. He's like, what the fuck? How do I not get sniped? There you go. Oh, it went high. That wasn't even my fault. The bullet went high.
Enemies looking right at us.
You shouldn't have stopped.
Target locked.
Whoops. Sorry about that. Disorientating a bit. I have a compulsive need to zoom in and out in these games. I do the same thing in Borderlands.
Enemies got us in their sights.
I bought the cheap Alpha Grand Prix so I could beat the prick who calls himself the Duke on I fucking hate this guy.
Oh, come on. Come on, get up there. Yeah.
Enemies looking right at us.
He has become motorbike. That was the dumbest mistake you ever did make. You better back up faster than that. Oh! Yeah. Yeah, the best Alpha Grand Prix is the Proto. As far as I know. There we go. That should increase the mark of excellence a little bit. You have a mark of excellence.
I just bought the cheapest one cause that guy's a piece of shit.
Did you beat him? I don't know. No offense to you, man, but watching how you drive street cars, I'd hate to see you drive Formula or touring cars.
Yeah, finally.
I mean, you saw it yourself how just driving, I don't want to say correctly, because there's always room for correction unless you're doing like perfect speedrun strats. But when you're driving at least like consistently and you're taking turns in the same way every single time, everything speeds up with you. That's why I was saying how if you do bad, the AI compensates for that. That's how that one race where...
It's kind of hard when the street is covered with snow and you can't see the road.
Our mission is to capture and hold the marked objective. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, but I mean, regardless, dude. And again, I'm not trying to poke fun at you. I'm a kind of person who loves to teach people stuff, but you have to want to learn in order to be taught, sort of thing.
That track is BS and you know it.
You say every track is ass in that game. I played the couple good ones with you, and then when I played the actual bad ones, I think you finally realized, like, oh. Like, oh yeah, you want a concrete circle that goes around a little town a couple times? Do you want a point-to-point on Pikes Peak, going up it instead of down it like they do in real life?
All you need to do is memorize the shortcuts, and I have the world's worst memory.
It's not memorizing the shortcuts, man. It's the way that you handle the car.
The enemy is taking the base.
There's just some... There's just some way that you're controlling the car that makes them much more uncontrollable. Just, well, I mean, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I didn't really get to see you drive the street car post having the tuning on it, but I was just judging based on the way that you'd go into turns and stuff like that. You do what the AI does, because you just follow them, but you have to learn to break that, because the AI is like not, it's not like a Formula 1 game where like the AI is going optimal, so you just follow through because it's what they're doing. In that game, you have to make your optimal path and sort of just fight the AI off of it. I mean, dude, it's like I told you last night. I don't go fast half of the time. I go in a more controlled manner, which just results in me going faster. There's no, like... I was using a car with like 40 less performance parts as well. That was just carnage.
You have failed, Mother Russia.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Go back and watch some of my Crew 2 streams, if you want to. I drive in first person most of the time, though. So, I don't know how much that'll help a third person driver.
The enemy's coming to take this location. Fight them all.
That being said, I don't drive in first person all the time. There are some times where I will drive in third person, for example,
I use the
drifting.
boot camera most of the time.
Why? Hood camera is only used in video games that don't have a cockpit camera. And even then, I'd rather just have the camera that's basically glued onto the front of the car. Like in Gran Turismo 2 and 3.
Enemy's got us in their sights. We've got them locked. That one through straight through. That one down. They've knocked down our cannon. Main guns are there.
I am more interested in the Need for Speed series. LOL, I don't know how I sat through 7 streams of the trash.
I mean, how I did?
Where'd they go? Like we're shooting spitballs. They spotted us.
Fucking autocorrect.
I'm dead.
This vehicle's finished.
Fuck. I don't know, I just wanted to help you get good at racing. That's why I was offering to just have you follow me. Just like a pace car. Because I give this advice to almost every single person I try to teach how to play a racing game well. There's a difference between playing it well and optimally, though. Because racing games always have their own feng shui bullshit that you can abuse to go faster or take a turn slightly different or blah 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 blah. There's always video game nonsense. But in general, the real life philosophy of taking a turn applies to real life. And I mean, obviously, it's a real life philosophy. I'm saying philosophy, it's really more physics, but whatever. The thought process behind turning. Like, if you put a random person who had no driving experience and told them, take this turn as optimally as you can, they're gonna go to the inside, and they're gonna try and cut the turn inwards. You give an experienced person that same turn, and they're gonna go to the far outside and just cut across the center of the turn. It's just like whenever you watch racing, for example, one of the best examples is in pro motorsports. Because you'll have touring cars that are going through these sections of the track that are S-shaped, and it's not like they're going wide out on the end of the S. They are going literally the minimum amount it takes to go in between those turns. And 90% of the concrete doesn't have tire wear on it because of it. Because the tire wear only occurs where the cars go, and they all go on about the same 20% of the track. The only exception for that is NASCAR, and that's because they have 3 to 4 wide cars, and they're on sloped turns, which change the dynamics of turning because of downforce and stuff like that. But in most situations, going slower and just cutting the inside from the outside, just don't even give the turn a chance for you to turn. That's why I was saying how in the truck, like, that can be incredibly, like, driver friendly or driver terrible. If you're a person who likes to lead thumb the steering, like, you go into a turn and you just like to hold the direction in one way, that thing is terrible for you. It will absolutely be undrivable. But if you're the kind of person who is, like, very specific with the analog stick and you only move it a little bit to get the steering wheel just turned, it turns incredibly fast. And like you saw, you can out-turn and accelerate people when you have way less performance parts than they do. Just based on that alone. There are very few times when you're going to be holding the throttle and holding full left on your controller in that game. Because the one thing that this game doesn't have in it that all other racing games do is a steering assist. And that means the car is not going to automatically turn, or it's not going to automatically mediate the amount of input you're putting in. Depending also upon what you set your controller's linearity to. That's why there are those options in the options menu for Like, oh, adjust your dead zone, adjust the sensitivity, adjust the linearity, because that all changes the way that the tires respond to your input. And if you're a person who likes to just press the analog stick all the way, you might want to change it to full linear, because that might make the game handle better for you. But if you're the kind of person who wants to get used to steering with a lot more precision and control, then you want to have no linearity. Because what steering linearity does is steering, if you have full linearity, for example, it makes steering either a 0 or a 1. You don't have all of the random space in between. The car either turns all the way or doesn't turn at all. When you have linearity turned down to 0, you can move the analog stick slightly and the steering wheel will turn slightly, and you can progressively turn all the way to full turn. Some people do use full linearity, which can help them turn better. I personally think that that is terrible, but it is by no means something that you can do and be unable to drive with it. Some people drive better with it because that's the way that they like to turn. They like it to just be turning or not turning. And they prefer to like tap steer, where they tap the analog stick all the way to full and back. And if that's the case, then you also want to reduce the clamping, because clamping is what makes the steering go back to 0 slowly. If you turn clamping all the way down, what happens is it's as if your guy let goes of the steering wheel whenever you let go of turning. So it's like if you've driven in a car in real life or been in a car before. You know how if you pull out from an intersection and you just sort of let the steering wheel go loose in your hands, the wheels will automatically correct themselves in the direction of momentum. And all you have to do is just like gently tap it and it will just automatically rotate outwards. What clamping does is clamping slows that process down, as if you had your hands on it and were letting it unsteer naturally. So more clamping means more slowdown in between turning. 0 clamping means you have a 0 to a 100 and then the 100 to 0 instantly, for the most part. It'll make it steer like an arcade game, where it's just like the wheel instantly turns and goes back. The actual car won't respond like that, but that's how the game's input is being registered, because it doesn't change the physics of how cars work. If you're having a problem with a car sliding because you're turning too much, it's not going to fix that problem. The only thing it'll do is make you able to just drive with the full turning at all times. But again, I hate that. I would highly recommend being a more accurate driver than doing that ever. Because this is a thing that I was thinking about. In order to be able to tune a car properly, you have to know how to tell what's actually wrong with it. And then you have to also know how to compensate for that. So for example, I'll give you a common problem in the Crew 2 with several different cars. So cars like the Ford Mustang, the one that you have, are what I would describe as a loose car, or a car that is oversteer heavy. It oversteers a lot. So in order to fix it, you have to correct oversteering. How do you correct oversteering in a real life situation? Let's implying the developers put some ounce of realism into the tuning. What makes a car not oversteer in real life? So, one of the main things that helps a car not oversteer in real life is suspension. If you're driving a front engine car and your front suspension is too loose, the car will roll a lot and it will pick a tire up off the ground, and you're not going to be able to stick to the ground. Second integral part in a car for being able to turn is a sway bar or a roll bar, depending on what you want to call it. It's something put beneath the mounting area of the frame where the axles and stuff like that sit. And a sway bar, it also depends on the location or what type of vehicle it is. Some types of drag cars, for example, will put sway bars in the back end of the car to stiffen the entire rear end, so it's rock hard. That's why you'll see drag cars wheelie off the beginning and the front half of the vehicle sort of leans in one direction, because it's all stiffened out with basically sway bars that are hard welded or mounted onto the chassis. And so, how to correct oversteer? Stiffen front, lower back, tighten front roll bar. That's how you correct oversteer. Now, what if it's the opposite? What if you have understeer in your car? The way that you would correct understeer in your car is you need to loosen the front end. You need to get more weight to be transferred to the back of the car when you're in the middle of a turn. Because what happens when you oversteer is all of the weight is going to the front of the car and it's biting really hard, and that makes a car want to steer instantly, and then it steers really fast, but then after that initial fast turning you get very little steering response out of it because the car has basically gone into a slide. And you fix understeer by encouraging oversteer. And understeer is more easily correctable than oversteer is, depending on how you build your car. For example, Porsches are notoriously known in real life for having understeer and oversteer problems due to the weight balance of the car. They are rear engine cars. So all of the weight is on the rear, making the rear want to bite in really hard in the corners. And you have to stiffen the rear end a lot, which makes the front want to understeer a little bit. And then, if you steer a little bit past the point of understeering, the front instantly bites into the ground because all the weight gets shifted to that side, and you spontaneously oversteer. Your steering wheel will look like you went to the 45 and then it jumped to the 90 and jumped back to 0. It'd do that kind of stuff. If you watch people doing track runs in Porsches online, like doing the Nürburgring in a Porsche 911 or something like that, you'll see exactly what I mean when they hit some of those hard turns. And it's very hard to fix those problems in a stock 911 without